Hello and welcome to the Business of Business podcast. I'm your host, Roy. Today we have a fascinating guest with us, Mitch Waks. He is in the with Cooperative Home Care out of St. Louis, Missouri, in the home care business, but also an entrepreneur. I've talked with Mitch a few times, and the fascinating thing is he's been in business for 35 years, and so longevity now is something you don't see a lot. So we're going to get in, and he's also in the process, and I think he's completed all the writing, but doing some editing, trying to get a book out. So we may even get to talk to him a little bit about the whole writing process, which fascinates me. But Mitch, thanks for taking time out of your day to be with us. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks so much. We're about to talk about my favorite topic, which is business.
Yes. Yeah, so let's just start there. 35 years, I mean, that's amazing. You've grown your company. I mean, I'm sure you started out, and I know that you've got offices in 2 states, in six or seven different offices now. And so let's talk about that. What is the secret to staying in business for 35 years?
Well, Roy, I wish I could give you one silver bullet, right. Because if we could, it would sure be easy.
Right.
And the short answer is there is no one reason.
Right.
I will tell you a lot of it can be luck. A lot of it is going to be the people that you surround yourself with. A lot of it's going to be, do you have the right marketing and business plan? Do you solve a need? There are so many things we can talk about, but there is no one reason that a company can last a long time.
Well, and I think I'll just say it for Mitch. I've talked to him enough to know that he's very modest, because I think some of the key things are, providing customer service, providing a good service, following up, making sure your customers are happy, number one, but being able to hire good people, like you said, surround yourself with good people. Those are no small feats in today. And then, kind of keeping that sales and marketing machine out there going. We've talked a lot about that, but is there one of those that you feel has been the most beneficial for you?
Well, no. I mean, I hate to keep dodging the question,
no.
Right? It sounds like I am just dodging. I think it's a package.
Yeah.
If you're going to be successful, you have to have the whole package.
Right.
If you're going to be successful for 1 or 2 years, you don't need much more than an interesting product or service, right? To catch people's attention.
Right.
Let's take a look at your audience may be way too young. But when I was little, somebody came out for Christmas with something called the pet rock. And you could buy literally a rock in a cardboard box with instructions on how to care for your new pet. Well, great. That's a novel idea. It lasted a year.
Right.
Was it going to last 35 years? No.
Right.
So it's pretty easy to have a business that lasts a year. It's really hard to have a business that lasts a long time. Right. And for that to happen, you need a lot of things to come together. Yeah. That is actually the reason that I wrote my book, Roy. I have come across so many young entrepreneurs, and by young, I don't mean chronologically their age. Right. I mean that they're new to entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. They had an idea or a product or a service, yet they knew nothing about business, nothing. And so they would ask questions, or they post questions in places where you just shake your head like, what are you doing in business where you don't understand some of the basics?
Right.
So I really believe if you want to last a long time, you have to be a student of the art of business. And that encompasses a whole lot of different things. And a good entrepreneur, the one that wants to last, needs to always be learning, always be improving their own skill set and the skill set of everybody around them.
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
No. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to say that is the main reason that I started this show, is because, so many people maybe they fall into business. They were doing something as a hobby. They were forced into it with the layoff or a company going out of business. And then all of a sudden they find themselves to a point that it's like, they need that knowledge to grow more and more. And I think that's important to always be learning. I mean, we can't ever stop. I try to read something new every day, and guests such as yourself, I learn something, and that's why I love doing this so much, because I take away so much from these. It's such a pleasure. But anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought there.
Now, if I stop dodging your questions, I can talk to a few elements that I think are really crucial.
Okay.
For longevity. I will tell you, first of all, you have to know your why.
Okay.
Why are you wanting to start a company? Is it because it's romantic to be your own boss? Is it because you just got let go after 30 years at a large company,
right,
and you can't find a new job in this marketplace? So you're going to take your 401k money and buy a franchise because you got nothing else to do?
Right.
That's not a good reason. That's not a good why. Often what we're going to find is those people are going to waste their 401k money and see it just go down the drain because they don't understand how to run a business.
Right.
Perhaps you were great at a particular department in your company, and now you've left and you want to start your own. You say, I can do this better than my boss. And maybe you can. Maybe, though, all you can do better is that one aspect.
Right.
Maybe you're really good at fixing a manufacturing line, and you could do it better than your boss. So you're gonna go into manufacturing of, I don't know, any widget.
Right.
But do you have any marketing experience? No. Do you have HR experience? No. Well, when you start to realize all the things you don't know, it's often too late, and your business will last maybe a year and a half, and now you're back to square one. So you have to understand, what is your why, and is the why good enough to solve a problem in the community that you're opening up your business? So you need to solve a problem.
Yeah.
What is the problem you're solving, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Another aspect that I think is crucial is you have to be willing to work a lot of hours early on. And I mean, you have to be willing to sacrifice sleep, family time, friends, your hobbies, because if you're going to make a go of it as a brand new entrepreneur, you are going to be spending so many hours trying to work, getting your business launched, up and running, and viable to the point where you actually have cash flow.
Right. And I think that's an important part of why passion plays into that, because of the hours, the commitment. It has to, typically, in my opinion, it has to be something that you feel some sort of passion about, or you just run out of gas. You will hit the wall with the extra hours. And the other thing, too, I'm very lucky. I get a lot of support from my family, and it's good to have everybody on board pulling the wagon in the same direction, because I spend a lot of time that, if I had somebody in my ear telling me you're spending too much time doing this, it wouldn't be fun. And then all of a sudden, when the fun wears off, it's like it just goes away.
Yeah, now it's a job, and you might as well just have a job where you have no risk.
Right.
Because being an entrepreneur means taking risk.
Right.
And you have to be comfortable with that. But I love your point of passion. I will reiterate the fact that I believe you're 100% right. What you don't know about me, Roy, yet is I'm a big fan of the Grateful Dead.
Oh, okay.
And one of their lines in a song is, without love in the dream, it'll never come true. Now, that is absolutely true with entrepreneurship. You have to love what you're doing. You have to have a passion for it, as you said, or it just isn't going to work.
Right.
Because you're going to have to put in those hours, the sacrifice.
Exactly.
And so another element I feel is crucial to success of entrepreneurs is the idea of, do you know your numbers? I find so many young entrepreneurs don't have a clue how to read a balance sheet, how to read an income statement, how to tell if that balance sheet is unhealthy, how to know when your ratio of debt to equity is out of whack, how to understand your days outstanding. They just don't know these simple basic terms.
Right.
And they just think, well, if I work hard, if I have a good product, I can succeed. Well, the path to success often has been foiled by people who just didn't know or understand how to measure numbers and how to read numbers. And you don't have to be a CPA or a finance major, Roy, but you better know some basics, or
Right.
you better have somebody on your team who can read them and tell you this is what's happening, here's a trend,
Right.
and who can explain it to you.
Yeah.
Often people can't afford early on a good, CPA or finance guy,
Right. Right.
but they need to. They need to budget for that.
Yeah.
And they need to pay that person before they pay themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think another point to this is that if you're not careful, you can find yourself just supporting a minimum wage job for yourself instead of being a true entrepreneur with the, all that comes with that, the time and the luxuries that we can afford. And a great point, I tell this story all the time. People probably get tired of hearing it, but, I worked with a guy years ago. He had fallen into this business and he charged a price. And I'm like, so when I started working with him, the first thing I said was, how do you arrive at this price? It's like, well, my competition charges $5 more. So I just cut their price. And I'm like, well, but what's all baked into this? Your labor, your equipment, the time, travel time, gas, it just started going through everything. And he's like, wow, I didn't even think about that. And so when we put it all together, he was probably $10 underneath the cost of what it cost him to provide that service. And it was a revelation. And, it's kind of getting into a lot of things, but then it's like, okay, so being price sensitive is not always the best avenue. It's like we got to sell the value. And when I try to teach him to, let's talk about, price this at where you need to be and let's sell the value, his income statement turned around immediately.
Well, that's a great lesson you taught him, Ben.
Yeah.
And that just reiterates my thought, which is you better understand numbers. And if you don't, you better have somebody on your team that does and can explain them to you.
Right.
And you better know them before you open up on day one.
Yes.
You need to know exactly how many units you need to sell at what price so that you can, one, earn a living, but eventually do more than just, earn $12 an hour.
Exactly. So the other thing I see with entrepreneurs is trust. And, like yourself, you can't be selling every customer. You can't be crunching every number. You can't be marketing to every prospect. You have to hire good people, and then you have to trust them to go out and do the job. And there's an old saying, trust but verify. So what's your take on being able to, hire people and trust them to go do the job the way that you want it done?
Yeah. Well, let's unwrap that a little bit. Hiring great people is incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Hiring great people that stay with you a long time is even more difficult. Right? So the first thing you really have to do is understand, what is it that your company stands for? What are your values? What do you believe in? What is your mission? Once you really have that, and you better have that before you draw up a business plan to take to a bank or take to a funder or a lending agent. You better know this stuff cold. Once you have that, and by the way, that's constantly evolving over time. Mm-hmm. Now, as you're looking to hire people, you're not looking just at their skill set. You're not looking to say, oh, you have an accounting degree. Great, I'm going to hire you because I need an accounting person. No, that's absolutely wrong. The accounting is the last piece you'll check. You'll just assume they got their CPA, they know how to balance the general ledger, right?
Right.
What you're going to hire for, Roy, is you're going to hire people that share the same values that you do as a company, that understand and buy into your mission, and who understand and appreciate your why and are willing, and this is a big part, to get behind your why, your mission, and your values because it lines up with theirs.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't line up, a couple of things is going to happen. They're going to quickly figure out they don't belong there and leave. And now you've invested time and money into them, and that's too expensive for a young entrepreneur to waste.
Right.
The second idea is they stay, but they're not being an ideal employee, and you want to get rid of them, right? And again, same result. I've wasted 6-9 months trying to train and bring them on board.
Right.
I don't have that time to keep making those
Right.
mistakes.
Yeah.
So start with those aspects. When you put together an interview sheet, at the top, you should put your mission statement, your value statements and beliefs, your why statement. These are all things I talk about, and you can go learn how to do them the best way possible, or be happy to teach people. As you put those on the top of every interview page, now you can start to match people up. If you get 10 people that you're interviewing, now you're going to try to ask questions to see who lines up with those pieces, right?
Right.
And if they do, now you got something to work with. Oh, by the way, do you know how to do accounting? Yeah. I got an accounting degree from Indiana. Great.
Yeah.
Right? That's the last thing I care about.
Right. Yeah, then there's an old saying, I don't remember it exactly, but it's basically, hire the person and train to the job. It's like we can train most people to do what we need them to do, but we have to have that cultural fit that we're all moving in the same direction. And unfortunately, especially starting out, entrepreneurs can get on this, the merry-go-round of hiring bad people and then trying to replace them. Instead of paying attention to the business, they spend so much time focused on the revolving door of employees. So it's such an important aspect to make sure that you make the right hire. Yeah.
Absolutely right, Roy. I recommend your listeners pick up a copy of Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, and go directly to the chapter that talks about getting the right people on the bus, step one.
All right.
And then putting the people in the right seats. Because often we'll hire people we think are great, but they're doing the wrong job.
Right,
us.
right.
So it's not just getting the right people on the bus, Roy. It's getting them in the right seats on your bus.
Right.
But that all starts with making that, as you talked about, the cultural fit match.
Yeah.
They have to align with you.
Yeah.
So start with that piece and then worry about the skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a good point. When we start talking about promoting people as well, I work for a very large corporation, and that was the way we promoted people was, you've been here the longest or you're the last man standing, whichever. It's kind of like a battlefield promotion. It just because and you spoke to this a little earlier, but just because you're good at making widgets doesn't mean that you're going to be good at overseeing people that make widgets. A huge difference.
You're absolutely right, boy. And what you're talking about, the Peter principle. You keep promoting people until they have no skill left to do the job, right? And because they were great at something on the front lines.
Yeah.
The thing that has kind of helped me is a phrase that I learned from a mentor a long time ago, which was hire slowly and fire fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as you realize someone's not a fit, let them go immediately before they do damage.
Yeah. Yeah.
But take your time to hire the right person. Don't feel like, oh, I'm desperate for somebody in this seat. I need to hire somebody quick.
Yeah.
That is just a recipe for disaster. So hire slowly, fire quickly.
Yeah, we used to, being a field personnel, we used to kind of joke that when somebody was not a good field hand, it'd be like they promoted them to get them out of the field to quit making mistakes. So we don't want to take that. We don't want to take that path. But the other thing to kind of think about through all this is that they are our brand ambassadors, especially if they're customer facing. And so that's another great reason to think about the culture. Do they match with our vision and our mission? Because you're sending them out into the world to represent you.
Yeah, and that's true for everybody, Roy, isn't it? Even your receptionist.
Yes.
And I will tell you, most people overlook the importance of that very first voice. That is the very first exposure to your business, and that's who answers your phone.
Yes.
Often people think, oh, I don't have to spend too much on that. I just need someone with a good phone voice.
Right.
That is so wrong.
Yeah.
Again, they have to line up with your mission statement. They have to agree and share your values. They have to buy into your why. They have to believe in you and your service and product.
Yeah.
And then you can teach them how you want to answer the phone.
Right.
But if they line up with those things I've talked about, now when they answer the phone, they want to help that person achieve what you want them to help them achieve. Right. So,
yeah, and I talk a lot about that as managers. We fail to let people know the importance of that position. And, I've done a lot of mystery shopping, and so that is another soapbox of mine is the receptionist. And, you don't want to walk in and have them griping to the other employee about what Betty Jane did at lunch, or, I've had them pick up the phone with a mouthful of, lunch trying to talk to me, or anyway, it's so important. But I think the other thing is that we have to deliver that message and say, you know what, you're the most important person on this team because you're going to be the very first contact by phone or, by walk-in in some businesses.
Yeah. What we say is to our receptionist is you're the voice of Cooperative Home Care.
Right.
And that has to be a very special position. You have to express all of our values in your voice, all of our mission in the questions you ask. You have to make sure that whoever's calling is helped. No matter what you have to do, you've got to help that person.
Right.
And that's the attitude everybody needs to take. So it's not just the customer-facing people, really. But what about your payroll person? Don't they have to buy into the idea that, boy, all of your employees need to get paid on time so that they're happy because they have responsibilities too?
Right.
Don't you want them to buy into your mission and understand your values?
Right. Right.
I think it's everybody in your company has to be on board. And as a leader, as an entrepreneur, they're going to look to you to deliver that message and remind them on a regular basis why they're doing their job. Getting back to the very beginning, over and over again, if I'm going to teach a class about entrepreneurship, it's going to be get back to your why.
Yeah.
Now, are you sharing that why with everybody in your agency, your company? You have to.
Yeah.
If we can move on, another thing that I think is crucial is for entrepreneurs is to get involved with a peer group of some type.
Okay.
And there are so many types, but I will tell you the percentage of success has a direct correlation to an entrepreneur participating in and being involved in a peer group. And there's 3 that I have been at various times involved with. I'll share those with you.
Okay.
That are incredible. Again, not a pitch for anything that I'm doing, but I actually pay people to be involved in these. The first one is Entrepreneurs Organization. It's called EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. There's a sister organization called YPO, which is Young Presidents Organization, but that's really for presidents of larger companies, not true entrepreneurs. If your audience is entrepreneurs, they need to check out EO, Entrepreneurs Organization. The next one is Vistage, and the third one is TAB, or the Alternative Board. All 3 of these put you in a situation where you have your own board of advisors that don't have anything other than your best interest at heart, and you're helping each other as a small board of advisors. And you meet on a monthly basis and you learn from each other. And what you learn is a very Gestalt approach to understanding business problems. What does that mean? Well, the Gestalt idea of psychology talks about experience sharing, right? So I'm going to get together with one of my advisory boards, and I'm going to say, I've got a problem. It's my turn to present as I go around the table. I've got an HR problem. We got somebody who spends all day on religious sites, and they're incredibly religious. They're taking up too much time. They're starting to bug other people around them who's having to hear these religious speeches in the cubicle next to them. And I know we have religious freedom, and I don't want to step on their rights, and they're not doing anything bad, but it's causing an issue. Right. I then present that to my board of advisors. If they've had an experience similar, they're going to share that experience with me. And what they did it work? Did it not work? Now, what is the difference between an advisory board and just calling up your high school buddy and saying, what do I do? Well, your high school buddy's never owned a company. He doesn't know what to do. He's got an opinion, and that opinion is worth absolutely nothing. Now, what does your advisory board offer you? Well, they are other entrepreneurs. That's all that's invited into these. And they're only going to speak if they have an experience to share. Like, hey, I had a guy in my company who was totally into music, and he wanted to play it loud on his computer, and it started to bug the people around him. It's not an exact match, but it's close enough. And he's going to say, here's what I did. Here's how I solved the problem. Here's how it worked out. I wish I would have done this earlier. I wish I wouldn't have done that. So they're going to share their whole experience. And now I don't have to understand how to fix it. I have to understand and know who do I go to learn how to fix it. And this is the big difference I want to make, a point I want to make, Roy. Good entrepreneurs don't ask how, they ask who. What I mean by that is don't try to reinvent something. What you need to figure out as an entrepreneur is who's had to fix this problem before. I need to go to them and ask them how they did it. Right?
Yeah.
So
good point.
Your audience needs to write that down. If they're a young entrepreneur, don't ask how, ask who.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, there's no time spending the time reinventing the wheel when somebody else has already been through that.
You're absolutely right. Yeah. And so, and there's a whole lot of who's in these peer groups, right?
Okay.
There are other types of peer groups too. Just there are homogeneous ones like, do you belong to an association of let's say, IT people? Well, you can all talk about IT problems, right, that you all share. Right. And there's heterogeneous ones where it's just a bunch of owners getting together of all different types. I like the heterogeneous ones, but both play a part. So I think entrepreneurs have to be a part of a peer group to have long-term success. Yeah. It's invaluable.
Yeah, and we need to surround ourselves with good advisors like that, but also I think it's very important that we do not take it a sign of weakness that we have to ask the question, because a lot of times, we get caught up with our own egos or our own self-importance as like, well, I can't ask anybody because then they're going to think I don't know the answer to that.
Roy, you are so on target. I am a lot I could learn from you. You are absolutely right again, and I keep finding myself saying that, but you're absolutely right. I have a whole chapter on a book called Mentors, because it is so important for an entrepreneur at every stage, especially early on, but even as we grow, to have a mentor. And usually that's someone who is much more successful. They can be in your industry or other industries. And what I try to share with people is find a mentor, find two mentors, meet with them once a month, once a quarter, and share your problems with them, share your opportunities, ask them how they grew, learn everything you can from these often older, but sometimes younger, more successful entrepreneurs. Right. Your audience should know that they will be surprised how many really successful business people, if you call them, email them, they're happy to be a mentor. Now, some of them will say, get lost, I don't have time. But many of them will say, wow, yeah, you know what? I had a mentor when I was coming up. I'm happy to teach you. Let's meet once every other month. You buy me coffee and I'll share my knowledge with you. Yeah. You got to have a mentor, Roy.
Yeah, and I've got a great story about taking a chance and reaching out. Years ago, I was on the business team of a small church that I went to, and we had some differing opinions on what a budget actually did, and so what I did is I reached out to this guy. He's a very well-known name in the business. I mean, one of the largest guys on TV evangelists now and out of Houston. So I reached out to his business manager, and he was the nicest guy, because I really didn't think I would hear back from him. But I reached out and said, hey, I'm having trouble showing other team members how these budgets should really work and help us. And so the guy sent me like 3 different books, followed up with me with some emails, had a phone conversation. But all it took was me sending him an email saying, I've got a question. And he was more than happy to share his years and years of knowledge in this area.
Well, that's a perfect example. That's a great story.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about. But I'm also talking about the idea of a long-term mentor that may stay with you for years.
Yes.
And
yes.
years.
Yeah.
And the other thing I will tell you is as you grow in your entrepreneurship and your business offers you a little bit more time, I would recommend that you flip the table and you become a mentor to a new, younger entrepreneur. Now, you can do both simultaneously. Currently, even though I've been doing this for 35 years, Roy, I am doing both. I am mentoring a younger entrepreneur, and I still have my mentor that I talk to on a regular basis whenever I need help.
Yeah.
And I get knowledge from both. Often from mentoring, here's what happens. This is really cool, Roy. I find that I am teaching things that I, of course, used to know but forgot, and I no longer implement, and I got away from, and I'm like, wait, I'm teaching them to do something, and how come I got away from that myself at my company? Darn it, I got to go put that back in place.
Exactly.
So that it's great to go both ways.
Yeah. It is. Well, Mitch, I want to say thank you so much for imparting your knowledge. I mean, it's always great to talk to you. I love your enthusiasm, and you have got so much wisdom that definitely I need to have you back again. Like I said, we could talk for hours and hours. So first, before I let you go, though, what is one tool that you use in your either in your business, daily life, a habit or ritual? What is something that you do every day that you couldn't do without?
I will tell you, if we're talking about business in general, I love the concept of management by walking around. And that's the idea of having the entrepreneur, the CEO, the leader of your company, and that's all your audience, right? It's imperative that they see you and that they see all your staff and team see that you care. So just by walking around every day around the office and saying, hey, good morning, how's it going? I don't drill them on their KPIs. I don't drill them on, hey, did you get that thing in their deadline? That's what their manager will do.
Right.
But I ask open-ended questions about, and often I'm going to learn about how they're doing, and they may open up, but it's important that your team see that you care about them. Yep. So the idea of what I can learn as an entrepreneur by just walking around, doing one lap around the office and just saying hello to everybody, man, that's invaluable.
Yeah, I like to tell people you need to be the mayor of your space. You've got to get out, kiss some babies, shake hands, pat people on the back. You've got to stay engaged, not only for them to see you, but also for you to be observant as well while you're out there. So great advice.
Yeah.
So, Mitch, if somebody wants to reach out to you, I know that if you're in the St. Louis area and you have a loved one that may need home health, you can certainly help them out there. But also, if somebody might have a business question, entrepreneurship, how could they reach out and get a hold of you?
Well, it's pretty easy. I'll give you 2 options to your listeners. The first is they can email me at mitch@cooperativehomecare.com, all one long word, but cooperativehomecare.com. And 2, I'm going to give them my cell number. So if you got a business question, an entrepreneur question, call me and let's talk about it. 314-368-9445. That's my personal cell. I will pick it up and we can talk business because I love to talk business.
All right. Well, again, thanks, Mitch. This is Roy. We are the Business of Business podcast, and you can find us at www.thebusinessofbusinesspodcast, Facebook, Instagram, and also we will have this recording up on YouTube. Until next time, take care.